Hi there, and welcome to your weekly top-up of phonological nonsense decanted from my brain and into yours at the other end of this video. Thank you very much for joining me today. Now, one of the things I always said I would like to talk about is sort of debunking the myths, the legends, and the jargon behind the wine industry, and Christ on a bike, is there a ton of that? So I would say that one of the sort of most complex for us Brits, especially for those that don't speak a second language, the foreign labels can come across as quite complicated. I mean, what do all of these words mean? And even if you know what they mean, do you truly know what the actual content means? So let's take Germany today as an example. You would have seen I flashed the label of the bottle that I'm drinking this evening, perfect ironing wine. And there are a few things on that label that I think should be explained. Now, first off, I probably didn't show it quite enough, but there is a little eagle on the top, or a bird of some sort, and with the little words V.D.P, Grosse Lager. And the V.D.P were an organisation of German winemakers and viticulturists who formed back in the 2000s, and they were sort of trying to create a more prestigious part of the German wine industry, something where, you know, the sort of German winemaking elite could join, and they've done an exceptional job of doing that. So yes, the V.D.P, also known as the Verband Deutscher Prädikatsweingüter. So try saying that after a few bottles. Now, the other thing you might have noticed is that lovely little GG embossed at the top. So this GG, Grosse Gewachs, what does that mean? Well, within the V.D.P, they have a certain amount of Grosse Gewachs. And what that is essentially like the sort of Grand Cru system. So it's where the vineyards, the Schuppen on the label, the vineyard, are known to be some of the best vineyards within that winery, within the V.D.P. And it's not to say that all wineries within the V.D.P, there's only just over 200, have Grosse Gewachs vineyards. They might have what's known as Grosse Lager, which is a great site, but not all Grosse Lager are Grosse Gewachs, but all Grosse Gewachs are Grosse Lager, just to keep you on your toes. Now, Württemberg as an area is just sort of southish around that area underneath Frankfurt, and they've been known to be making wine there. Records state about sort of since 1510. And this particular family, the Daltel or Dotel, it's hard to know which way to pronounce it. Sort of phonetically, it's said to pronounce D-O-W. Now, that depends on whether you say Bowie or Bowie, right? So I do apologise if I get the pronunciation of your name wrong. But they've been making wine there. Ernst Daltel, the father, and now Christian Daltel, the son. And they make beautiful wines that are the most wonderful expressions of the terroir there, of the vineyards, of the sites. And so the Schuppen, which is awarded the Grosse Gewachs. Now that's because to be a Grosse Gewachs, you have to make sure that your vineyard produces no more than 50 hectolitres per hectare, and your wines always have to be dry with a minimum alcohol percentage of 12%. And the majority of these are also sort of south-facing slopes because that's the optimum for catching the good and the right amount of sunshine. Spatburgunder. So what is Spatburgunder? It's Pinot Noir, and it's marvellous Pinot Noir at that. So this beautiful vineyard creates some of the most gorgeous, as I say, expressions of what Pinot Noir is all about. I opened this a couple of days ago, and on first opening, it had this most beautiful bottle stink. Now, I know that sort of sounds a bit like an oxymoron, beautiful and bottle stink. Should those two words go together? And the answer is yes, because when you get that sort of pungent, farmy, mushroomy, you know, almost sort of like manure-like smell from a Pinot like that, that bottle stink is only a sign of amazing things to come. And that has been proven. The colour is wonderful. It's a slightly deeper, darker ruby, but not massively intense. On the nose, That bottle stink is long gone, but that slightly sort of savoury edge, that wet forest floor, it's a little bit bacony, it's got gamey notes. You know, I would almost say it's definitely Pinot, but there are reflections of Syrah in there, funnily enough. It's uber complexity, if you'll excuse the German phrasing there. And another thing that I love is this beautiful floral note, these roses, which with this chocolatey note almost makes it sort of Turkish delight. It's just wonderful. On the palate, it's like silk. It's like taking a silk curtain, running it across your tongue. These beautiful sort of tannins right at the back, just give it a dry kick, but it's all fruit, it's cherry, it's black forest gatto with this sort of chocolate. You do get that lovely floral note, almost potpourri. It's sort of reminiscent of Pinot, but also Syrah, but also Barbaresco, and there's all of these sort of components going on. And I would argue that if this was coming from Burgundy, the 40 to 45 price point would be nowhere near how much this would be selling for. I mean, this is easily 90 to 100 quid, 100 quid plus. I don't think you'd have a single problem selling it at that, especially if it was given a Grand Cru status. So yeah, a wonderful wine and a perfect wine to be ironing with, I would argue. So next time you see that little eagle, the V.D.P, the Verband Deutsche Prädikatsweingüter, just remember that there's only just over 200 producers, so you know that it's going to be of an exceptional quality. And then if you have the added bonus of seeing the GG emblem embossed onto the bottle, the Grosse Gewachs, then you know this is coming from one small plot that makes a small amount of wine, and that wine will be one of the most special things you ever get to try. So stay tuned. As always, I hope you join with me next week, because we're going to have that limited edition Bert abroad in Scotland, langoustines, fresh delicious wines. It's going to be fantastic. And I will leave you with this once again. A good friend of mine once told me, you have a limited amount of glasses of wine in this world. Don't be wasting a single one. Take care and good night.